Okay, we are live, and hopefully, I know that I had posted the event the first time, and I saw it, and it said 2:15, and I was like, "Oh no!" But it was already after 2:15, so people are like, "What is going on?" I'm trying to join. I'm like,
Right,
"Oh no, it's 4:15." Well, 4:15 Eastern Standard Time.
right.
But yeah, so LinkedIn wasn't allowing me to delete it. So here we are.
Mm.
Hopefully, people got the second one that I
Yeah,
posted.
yeah,
But here we are. I am so glad that you joined me. Um, as we spoke about, guys, whether you are live, joining us live, or whether you're joining us for the replay, I want you guys to know that I spoke to my friend, Greg, and we talked, and I just said, there's a lot of stuff that I can learn from you.
mhm,
And I know if there's things that I can learn from you, then there are other people who can learn from you too. So, what better way to kind of share that than to get on here live and let's just talk. Let's just talk like we would normally talk. Nothing is scripted. He doesn't have questions that I've given him that I'm going to ask him. There's nothing like that. I just wanted it to be open and vulnerable and really, sorry, that was my call, and just free. So
mhm.
this is where we are. This is what we're doing. This is why we just popped up, because literally, when did we talk? Was that yesterday?
Day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it wasn't even like a lot of notice, right? But here we are, and I just want you to know, first of all, I've already told you, you're an inspiration to me. From everything that he's going through, has gone through. I don't know if you guys read what I put and what I posted, but you have this guy who is doing major things, doing excelling in business. Home life is great and it's going well, and we've got this podcast that you're doing. You started a new business. Like you're just going for it, right? He's going for it. He's on the move. He's doing everything, the way that he should. And then boom, he gets hit with this devastating information. Um, and he finds out he has cancer. And my thing is like, you never know. And that's one of the things that we talked about, is that
Mhm.
you never know what you would do or how you would react in a situation until you are in that situation. So as much as I would like to say, oh my goodness, I would want to be just like him. I probably would act just like him. I have no idea. I have no idea how I would react. And I don't know the questions that would be going through my head. I don't know the feelings that I would be feeling. But to know that I don't know how I would react, and to see him in action, of where now he's stepping outside of himself, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going through this thing. There's so many other people that I can help. And
Right.
taking the focus off of what you are going through, because it's real.
Mhm,
It's real.
mhm.
And shedding light on other people's situations, and like, okay, this is an issue. These things need to be addressed. Like that blows my mind. And so I was like, look, we got to talk, because I have to. If anybody, I need to learn from you. So guys, please meet Gregory. I mean, y'all just tune in to what he's got to say. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, sis. There's first and foremost, there's much love, that and respect that I have for you. You were part of my initial, should I say, wilding out idea and aspiration to even really kind of start my podcast. I mean, you were like
Mhm.
episode 7, so I mean,
Yeah.
let's be realistic. We've kind of grown and matured and really kind of followed each other, through our
Yeah.
social media and phone calls and texts, and really kind of supported each other in a lot of different ways. And I respect that, and like I said, I have much love for you for being such a supporter. And the other thing
Yeah.
I want to say as a huge shout out is the fact that you stepped out and basically were part of some of the earlier individuals that saw our T-shirt campaign, which I see you're wearing today. Our multiple myeloma
Yeah.
hope and awareness T-shirt in order to support
Yes.
that. And there's just so many things that have been a blessing, in getting to know you over the past year, you and your family, meeting your kids, and I'm just honored to be here. I want to say thank you. And like I said, I'm open to discuss anything you'd like to discuss regarding
Yes.
what has transpired over the past 7 months. And, I just hope your listeners and everybody that's tuned in today is prepared for what I'm about to say, because it is going to be heartfelt. It's going to be compelling. It's going to be captivating. I'm going to put you in my shoes, unlike any other aspect that you've ever seen that maybe you have or haven't from someone that's dealing with cancer. And it's very real, very,
Yeah.
very real.
And that's what I want. I want the real, and I appreciate you for one, just being open. That takes a lot of guts. That takes a lot. And you
Well,
standing here and doing that. That's awesome.
at the end of the day, for me, there's no control when you have, some type of hideous disease or terminal illness. I mean, life as itself, the expectancy, your survivalship, you just don't know. You leave it in God's hands. And at the end of the day, for me, yeah, I used to be control, 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 and delegate, delegate, delegate. But what can you do? I mean, you have to rely on the doctors. You have to rely on the medication. You have to rely on all the different extremities to help get you back whole again. And so, to start there, you relinquish that control. You don't really
Mhm.
have a choice. You know.
So now that we've already got into control now. So I have to stop you.
Sure.
So here we are, because the thing is that, at least for me, right? Sometimes I feel it difficult when you are in something that you can actually control,
Hmm.
right? So just like you were saying, you were in the control, delegate, delegate, and in the workspace, right? And
Hmm.
so that's something that we know, and we think that is something that we can control because it's tangible, it's
Hmm.
there. It's like, if I move this thing, this will probably happen.
Hmm.
If I do this, this will probably happen.
Hmm.
So in that realm, it's so easy for me to fall into that control,
Hmm.
right? But so when you step out and this happens, right? You go to the doctor and you're like, okay, what's going on? And we go down the road and you get this diagnosis. Was it easy for you to give up control in that aspect because it felt out of your control, or was it not? Like, did you still struggle with that?
Well, in the beginning, yes, to answer your question, and then I'll go into a little bit of explanation here. In the early stages of my diagnosis, um, control is about certainty. And I'm going to kind of explain this
Mhm,
just a little bit. Control is about certainty. Like you say, if you push the button here, this is what happened. If you
mhm,
A plus B equals C, at the end of the day, when you have certainty, and like you said, you're in this controlled environment, these are all things that provide you with the guarantee. Okay. They provide you with a sense of comfort and security that, yes,
mhm,
this is going to happen. Now, when all of that is stripped away, and only thing you have is uncertainty and you're not educated on all the different aspects of what's happening, where's your guarantee? Where's your certainty? Because at that moment in time, you don't have anything that's providing you with the stability that you need to true yourself up. And so as these
mhm,
people are telling me, you've got multiple myeloma, we don't know if it's cancerous or benign, we're going to have to run these tests, we're going to have to do this, we're going to have to do that. I'm saying, what is multiple myeloma? I mean, because
mhm,
I'm unaware of this, I mean,
mhm,
so there was no certainty. So the first thing I had to do is comprehend, for me, is how am I going to digest this information? Because I had nobody in my network that I could reach out to and say, are you familiar with multiple myeloma? Do we have anybody in
mhm,
the family that has multiple? Nobody. Nobody. I mean, 90% of the people in my network was like they were oblivious to this. I mean, they were being educated as I was being educated and putting a lot of stuff out on social media, bringing
Right.
myself up to speed, as well as trying to help those around me understand what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so to answer your
Mhm.
question, as it relates to giving up the control, like I said, it was hard. But I think at the end of the day, in order to grow as an individual, in order to flourish and have prosperity in life and minimize some of those worries, I had to step back and I had to just relinquish that control. And I had to put my faith in Lord Jesus Christ first and foremost for him to give me the strength to be able to do that. Because, the other day when we talked, I had gotten away from a lot of my faith because
Yeah.
I was just so busy, and I
Yeah.
realized that, here's a part
Mhm.
of my soul that I wasn't fulfilling. It's just like feeding your body. You got to feed your soul with the right substance in order for you to continue to feel wholesome and rewarded in
Mhm.
life. And so once I started putting all those pieces back together, it became very clear the guidance, that I needed to have within my own self, as well as, believing in the power of prayer, as well as focused in on where I needed to put my priorities. Because when you're dealing with something like what I have, your
Mhm.
prioritization in what is important and what is not important doesn't stay at the bottom of the list. It bubbles to the top of the list because of several fallacies that I'd like to share with everybody that's listening today. Multiple myeloma gives you an excruciating chronic fatigue, and anybody that's dealt with multiple myeloma, and pretty much any cancer patient will tell you that they deal with chronic fatigue. And then on top of that, depending upon what stage you are and where you are in your treatment, the drugs themselves put you into what I consider to be a chemo fog. And so when you start to add up all these different compositions, things become to take shape as an out of mind, out of body experience. And as a part of that, you begin to lose context of oneself because you're trying to rationalize and think about things that you need to do, but you don't have the energy, or you're not thinking clearly. You're in a fog, or all these different things. And that's not to discount all of the other premises that happen when you have to consider their financial implications. There's insurance implications. There's you know you having to be an advocate for yourself because no one else is going to step up to the plate and support you in pleading your case. I mean, we can go into a lot of different aspects of this, but in the
Mhm.
beginning, for me, the best way to describe how all of this happened is it was HELL, because I
Mhm.
was 2 months into an aggressive chemo treatment, 5 days a week. My
Mhm.
insurance company was giving me a very hard time. My billing cost for my treatment was $22,500 per week. We fought to try to find the right oncologist after we went through like 5 or 6 interviews here in the San Antonio area. Then my insurance company, when they finally perked up and said, "Hey, we're willing to support, we're willing to do this. However, there's no hospital that we will support you on in San Antonio." And then we had to put all of our energy into Dana Farber, because at that point in time we were looking to go to Dana Farber for my treatment, and Dana Farber for my overall stem cell transplant. And then that became another financial burden. It's like, okay, so who's going to pay for our living expenses? What about this? What about that? So I mean, it just became, like I said, juggling, a nightmare. This 800-pound gorilla beating on your chest, and you're just
Yeah.
trying to figure out how do you get him off.
Yeah. So when that happened, right? When you received this diagnosis,
Mhm.
first off, how did you feel? What were your initial feelings and thoughts?
Well, it was overwhelming, to be frankly honest. I mean, we really didn't know how to deal with the information or digest the information because, like I said, there was just so much uncertainty of what myeloma was to us. We couldn't
Mhm.
relate to it. I mean, it's just like, walking into any situation, ill prepared. We just had no notion. I mean, the first time we heard the word multiple myeloma was after I got my first MRI back, and the doctor said, they're suspecting that this may be a multiple myeloma type tumor. And my wife and I are looking at him going, well, what is that? And he
Mhm.
couldn't go into any real detailed explanation because he's a spine management doctor, so he's looking at my
Right.
spine and looking at my skeletal system. And so,
Right.
we spent hours and hours of research and just trying to bring ourselves up to speed, because a part of learning and getting some sense of certainty and guarantee is knowing what questions to ask because
Yeah.
we were still trying to find doctors. We were still trying to find answers. And we needed to be, somewhat reassured that we were doing all of the right things. And we're still
Yeah.
learning every day. But overall, it was a very trying time, very emotional, and completely, utterly overwhelming.
Wow. So we first feel in one set of overwhelm,
Hmm.
and confusion sets in,
Hmm.
because just like you said, I can only imagine you aren't able to ask the questions that you would quote unquote need to ask
Hmm.
if you don't know what you're even supposed to be asking.
That's right.
If I don't even know what you're talking about right now,
That's right.
I can't even grasp the fact. It is so much that I could just be thinking that is happening. So
Hmm.
we've got the overwhelm, we've got the confusion. And after you sat with it for a little bit, and that kind of sunk in, was there any point of anger?
Well, I think everybody, when you go through any type of difficult situation in life, you say, "Why me?"
Mhm,
Why is this happening to me? You begin to question, the
mhm,
underlying motives, whether, you look to God and say, why me? Or you look to, whatever your situation may be, and you ask yourself that question. For me, it just came down to the boiling point of, yes, I'm angry, but what do I do with that anger? I mean,
mhm,
being mad and pissed off on the sideline does nothing for you. I mean, it doesn't advance you in life. It doesn't carry you anywhere. You're just utterly pissed off. And so what I
mhm,
decided, and it really wasn't me that decided. It was the good Lord above that decided, because after about a month and a half of going through, not being able to, you know, sleep horizontal, not being able to dress myself, not being able to get myself out of bed, not being able to tie my shoes, not be I mean, I was in so much agony and so much pain because of where this tumor sat on my upper pelvic area, my upper hip area, and right across my sciatic nerve, that it was just causing me a lot of discomfort, along with all of the other things, the drugs and everything else that was going on. And
mhm,
so for me, one night I remember getting up because I was on this high dose of steroid called dexamethasone, and it was causing me to go to the bathroom a lot. So I was up late at night, and that one
mhm,
night I sat on the edge of the bed and I just started crying. I just started bawling, and it was just one of those things where it was just uncontrollable. I mean, I couldn't do anything about it. And then it was just like, he was speaking to me. He was just telling me, he was like, son, this is what I need for you to do. I want you to be a beacon of hope. I want you to provide hope and awareness, because there are so many people out there that are struggling with trying to understand what to do as they deal with cancer, or to dealing with insurance companies, or dealing with trying to find financial aid, or whatever the case may be, that could use your voice. And, it
mhm,
was just one of those things where it was like, a lot of people that asked me in the past, have I ever thought about ministry, because of the simple fact that, I've got a podcast, I've got this, I've got that, and I'm always, you know, comfortable in talking, in front of, people.
right,
And it was just one of those things where it's just like, if this is what you're asking me to do, then, I will follow that guidance, and do what I'm told to do, because at the end of the day, I needed to be able to release internally what was being bottled inside of me, and find an outlet that
mhm,
provided me with the therapy and the ability to know that I'm adding value. And so that anger, as you alluded to earlier, quickly diminished, and it just became a mission, and that mission was to be able to help others just as much as I'm helping myself, in being able to share my story in a very positive and enlightening manner, to be able to see what I can do to be able to connect the dots and hope bring forth some type of solution towards this hideous disease.
wow, wow. So how are you able to, one, I mean, when we've got this overwhelm, we've got the confusion, then we move to the anger, and we're, here, okay, this is kind of why I've placed you here. I
Mhm.
need you to focus. I need you to do this. How are you able to kind of see through the noise? Because I mean, not only that, it's not only the confusion, only the overwhelm, not only the anger, but you've also got these bills that,
Mhm.
even if you're not getting hit with them right now,
Mhm.
we all know, even if we have not been in a situation where we've been diagnosed with cancer, we
Mhm,
know that there is a heavy price tag attached to that.
mhm, mhm.
So, how do you move and separate yourself from what is going on the outside and how bogged down you could have gotten? And
Right.
see through that and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not really going to worry about these things. These things will take care of themselves. And
Mhm.
I'm going to focus. Like, how did you do that?
Well, I think first and foremost goes back to what I said earlier. You have to really understand where your priorities are.
Mm,
And I'm gonna kind of make sure that I explain this a little bit further. There
yes.
was a lot of things that were going on in my life at the time that I got diagnosed with cancer. I've got three thriving companies. Each one of these companies
Hmm.
are at different stages of growth. And I was at a position right now where it was like, here it is. We're talking to investors. We're talking to potential opportunities that can take us from ground level to mainstream level.
Yep.
And when all this happened, I said to myself, not only do I have the energy to persevere, but what's important to me at this moment in time? And what was important to me at that moment in time was getting rid of the pain and being able to get back to where I could actually function under some normal
Mm,
capacity in my life. And so when it came down to all of the great things that was happening with the companies, when it came down to, continuing to do the great things we're doing with the podcast and all the projects we're working on, I had to put all that stuff on the shelf because at that point in time for me, those were not priorities because the priority was if Greg's not healthy, if Greg can't
mm,
function, if Greg can't walk, if Greg can't sit, Greg can't, do things without all of his pain and
yeah.
discomfort. Well, what good is Greg? Greg is no good to anybody.
Yeah.
And so that focus became the number one priority, in my life. And then secondly, behind that was, well, God and everything else happened first. But then, secondly, behind that, I ended up basically saying, I've got to really check back into life. Okay. And what I
Mm,
mean by check back into life is that, I started going back, reconciling everything that I was doing and how I put a lot of people before the decisions that I was making, just so that I knew that I could not necessarily check the box, but I knew that I could actually, say that I've added value and completed, the overall task and be able to move forward. It goes back to that whole control thing. And then I
mhm,
realized at that point in time, it was like, you know what? I got to think about me first. And, all these great things that I'm doing for others is all fine and
mm,
dandy. But if I don't think about me first, I'm going to continue to hurt myself. And I think that was a part of his message to me because the pain was such excruciating and it was so horrific that, by the time I reinstitute engaging my faith, by the time I started putting those priorities back into perspective and really focusing in on myself and my health and understanding what I needed to do to kind of not just persevere, not just have resiliency, but to have quality, okay, quality of life.
mm,
Those things begin to subside, and I begin to connect with people that were more genuine and acute to being able to help me navigate those turbulent times and situations based on their own experiences where I gain even more knowledge and more compilation of being able to have, my faith be as strong as it is today because of the simple fact that I needed that. My soul, that nourishment, that thirst for the spiritual gospel was missing,
yeah.
and when those things dissipate from your life, it's hard. I mean, it is
Yeah.
completely hard. And I'll tell you, I mean, I I I, I can't give this little small church that I go to now enough props because they are a healing church and they have really embraced my wife and I. They brought us in and taken us under their wings. And I just tell you, Faith Temple Church and God in Christ here in San Antonio, pastored by Eunice Brazil, it's just a phenomenal spiritual uplifting congregation that that is what my soul needed. And I'll tell you, Christina, from the day that I got there to where I am today, it's been like a complete 180, and it couldn't have been done without the man above.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. So in this, it's where your priority shifted.
Hmm.
So would you say that you were focused heavily on work? Were there things like what was the difference? And I know that you had mentioned, so one of the things was not putting yourself kind of first,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
focusing on your needs and what to do to keep you in check, because that, and I love how you put it, because sometimes we don't think about that.
right.
We sit there, we're doing all this stuff, we're saying, okay, I'm doing this for, for my kids, I'm doing this
Mhm,
for my husband, for my wife, for our quality of life, right?
mhm,
So we'll have that freedom, so we'll be able to do all these things. We do it in the name of good stuff,
mhm,
and because these things are good, it's a
mhm,
good reason why you want
mhm.
these things and why you want to do these things. But then we often do those things at the sacrifice of our needs and what
Correct.
it is that we're our bodies and our minds are screaming to us. We're like, you know what? It's easy to put us on the back burner, saying, hey,
Mhm,
well, you know what? You're good. You're okay. Because we're
mhm.
us, right? We can
Right.
always come back to us.
Mhm,
So our kids come first, our spouse comes first, their needs come first because they're them. But we don't understand that that is doing us a disservice. And
correct.
so I'm glad that you said that hey, if I'm not good, then none of this is good. And
That's right.
this is the thing. We work for all this stuff, but honey, if you're not there, if
Mhm,
you're not healthy, if you're not of good mind,
mhm.
what good is it?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
good is it? What is all
Well,
this stuff that we've amassed?
right. Well, a good way to kind of summarize or put a different analogy on what you just explained is the fact that for me, number one, it came down to gratitude and appreciation.
Mm, okay.
Because I would put forth a lot of effort, like I said, into making sure that people around me and all of the things that I did before considering myself, that they were solid. In some cases,
Mhm.
I got back gratitude. Sometimes I got back, appreciation. But I would probably say 80% of the time I got nothing back. And so, what is that? What does that do to your soul? That leaves you with a sense of emptiness as to why are you continuing to do this when you're not getting, a simple thank you or a simple notion of appreciation. And so, for me, I said, when all of this happened to me, and I realized that there was this vicious cycle of these things going around and around and around. I said, I've got to really start to put energy in self. And it's not about being selfish. It's just about making sure that I cover my own bases and try and protect my own mental capacity of being able not to feel that empty void or be able to feel that sense of, well, why did I do this if the guy or person or individual or company didn't appreciate it? I mean, why am I going completely out of my way? Why am I
Mhm.
worried about the expectation at the end of the day of what the expectation should be when they're not worried about it? And so all of these different things I had to basically say, what, worrying, concerns, missing the gratitude, so forth, so on. I mean, I'm not going to say I lowered my expectations. I changed those expectations so those expectations are no longer focused on others, but they're focused on me first. They
Yeah.
put me
Yeah.
in the driver's seat. Then, wherever I'm comfortable in providing or divvying that type of stuff up, then I move forward in a manner to where I don't, relinquish too much of that and I don't drain myself. So I leave myself in a very empty perspective. And that whole prioritization, like I said, what's important is something that I had to go through to ensure that my mindset was right to be able to endure, because at the end of the day I'm having to trust in everyone around me 100% of the time now, unlike it was before where I trust in myself, to
Yeah.
be able to get things done. And so, those type of things, they don't really mix well together. It actually kind of create a conflict in a lot of
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So what does that look like for you, with as far as you putting yourself first? Like, what is different from now than before? Like, what does that, how do you conceptualize that for somebody who is like, okay, I need to put myself first.
Hmm.
I need to focus on myself. I have this emptiness in me that
Hmm.
I need to feel.
Hmm.
And I know I need that, I need that time. I need that space with God, but
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know where to stop. I don't
Right.
know what to do. What does that
Right.
look like?
Well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to the people you surround yourself with, and first and foremost, for me, Jacqueline Smith, who's a good friend of mine, she lives here in San Antonio. She's the one that invited us to Faith Temple, Church in God in Christ, and that was
Mhm.
really the first step for me to kind of, you know, check the box on the spirituality, because, like I said, the embracement there was something that I truly needed, to nourish my soul. And then the other thing, as far as from a prioritization standpoint, is as simple as this may seem, is probably the hardest thing that people can kind of relate to in a lot of different extremities. Uh, I, as an individual, as an entrepreneur, you're always working 16, 18, however many hours you work. And you really, like you said, you don't think about, yourself. You put your
Yeah.
family first, you do this, you do that. And so some of the simplistic things for me that became very paramount, because now they became a part of my recovery. They became a part of my overall treatment. It became a part of, whether or not I'm going to have, longer survivalship, was me being able to say, I have to take time out for myself to exercise. I need to exercise every single day. I need to go out for a walk. I need to do this. I need to do that. These are all things that, I had taken for granted in the past, because I was
Mhm.
like, I don't have time to do
Yeah.
that. I don't have time to do this, and so forth and so on. And so you have to really step back when the doctors are telling you, you got to change your diet. You got to start eating more fruits and vegetables and this, that, and the other. I mean, yeah, you hear these things, but you're always so busy and you're always doing things that, it's being an entrepreneur. It's just go, 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 go. But when
Mhm.
you get the brakes or the rug or whatever pulled from underneath you, then the light bulb goes off and you quickly have to go,
Mhm.
what am I going to do
Mhm.
with this situation? And, like I said, since there was so much uncertainty for me, I had to rely on others. I had to relinquish that control. I had to take in that information, and I had to make that deviation. I had to make that detour. I had to make that
Yeah.
turn and
Yeah.
embrace it, and really embrace it.
So, so you just hit on something that I know that you posted this a little while ago. I don't know the exact date, but you were saying essentially that bad when people get bad news, sometimes it takes that to get
Mhm.
some bad news, bad information for you to make good changes or
Yep.
positive changes.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you know, you and I have talked about this, in the past, particularly as it relates to my past, and
Mhm.
I'm just going to share very openly with your listeners. I mean, for me, I've hit, probably three major setbacks in my life,
Yeah.
and those setbacks, they're eye-opening setbacks, and they put you in a situation where your back is against the wall, and you have to say to yourself, do you stay down or do you get back on the horse? And the
Mhm.
first situation was, for me, where my father passed away in 2012, and I had a lot of different resentment and other various things in my childhood that I hadn't digested and gotten over even as an adult, and those type of things still carried on. But being beside my dad's bedside during the period of time that he passed, we were able to get past that and reconciliate, and really kind of move forward in a manner that allowed for us to be at peace when he passed.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, of course, a lot of people, have asked me, with regards to, the situation I've mentioned before. I've been married 3 times, and I'm on my third marriage now. And the fact that my current wife is the angel. I mean, it's just no doubt about how blessed I am to have her in my life, spiritually, friendship, lover. I mean, all of the above, everything. There's just
Mhm.
nothing bad that will ever come between her and I, because of that faith and that unconditional and unwavered support. And so when I met her when I was living in Peru for 3 years, after my father had passed away, I was still in this turbulent spiral. I'd already gone through strike one, and so strike two was, really trying to figure out, how do I get my life back together financially? I'd lost everything. I was going through my second divorce, and all these different things were just coming down on me like a ton of bricks. And so, like I said, my back is against the wall. What do you do? it was the very simple gesture of her and her family reminding me of my family back in Mississippi that kind of helped me get through that second major hurdle in my life of dealing with all of those implications of things that have transpired. And so I rebuilt myself. I really came back online. Things were going very well. And for years, we were flourishing. And then, of course, 2021,
Yeah.
July, we get hit with cancer. And backs against the wall again. And we're basically looking at each other, kind of flabbergasted, saying, what do we do? I mean, it's really impacted us in such a way that not only has it made me humble, but it's also really brought me together in the relationships that I consider to be truthful relationships. Because my wife and I would talk about this all the time. We have convenience relationships, and then you have relationships that are very, hospitable. They're genuine. They're going to be there. They're going to be a part of that solid foundation, that core. And so for us, we really had to tap into that because we needed those friends to be around us to say everything's going to be okay. We needed those people to listen to us. We needed the new friends that we found to kind of help cultivate, what they've gone through and transfer that information into us to be able to kind of ease our mind, in a manner. And so, overall, we found ourselves not necessarily in a tumultuous type of situation anymore, but we found ourselves into this humbling, calm, kind of tranquil environment where we know that we have to go through the process. We know the process is not going to be easy. We know what I have to go through is going to be very hard, but we know on the other side, we're going to be blessed and that there's going to be a wealth of testimonial that people are going to want to know. They're going to want to understand, just what that was like. And I'm prepared, to go through that.
Yeah. So I'm trying to formulate this in a way that people can take this away. Because, like we spoke about, 2 days ago, how there is power in sharing our stories, right? And though you may not be going through the exact same thing, it doesn't mean that we're not dealing with the same feelings, the same type of thoughts, the same, just like you did. You went through overwhelm, you went through confusion, you went through anger, you went through focus. You went like all those things. Name a person on this call that has not gone through that. Even though it may look different in their lives. But so that's why I'm like, okay, so just hearing this, and I like the fact that you said, as far as your friends, your circle, and them sharing different things, and you being able to feed off of that, and that helping you in your journey, and that's why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're here. That's the power in being vulnerable. That's the power in sharing your story. That's the power of knowing that it's okay that I have ups and downs. It's okay. Because in those downs, and that's what you're showing me, is that these times where my back is up against the wall or these bad things are happening to me, I'm learning how to see through them. I'm learning how to say, you know what do I need to learn?
Yeah.
There's something else on the other side of this that I need to get to. So how can I get to that? And it's just that thing that I want to kind of highlight of like how, because I know that even though we're here and even though you are seeing the reason why, reason behind or whatever, why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing in your mission in this, I know that there are still days that aren't good.
Oh, of course.
I know that there are days where sometimes your mind may go and you question. So in those times, what do you do to reel yourself back in? Because that's the one thing that I want to highlight for people, because sometimes we'll think, and at least for me, I would always think that there was like a light bulb, right? That just flipped on it, because that's how people talk about it. Just like, okay, I was so down and out and I was upset. And then all of a sudden I just realized I have a purpose. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden they just never go back to that. And I'm like, okay, so when is my light bulb going to come on?
Sure.
It didn't
Sure.
come on yet. Okay. And I started thinking, something's wrong with me then.
Mhm.
There's something wrong with me because I keep ending up, it's like I'll get a little bit further and then I'll come back. And then it's like, oh my gosh, didn't I get over this? Okay. Then I go further and then I come back and I'm like, something's wrong because
Right.
my light bulb isn't turning on and it's not clicking.
Mhm.
So if you could let us know, like, what do you use to be able to reel yourself in, to bring yourself back, to refocus yourself in those times of ups and downs?
Well, I mean, it comes down to the fact that it's truly an awakening, when those type of things
Mhm,
happen. Some people, they can take subtle hints and then they can recalibrate themselves and move forward. Sometimes it has to be something so, shocking that,
mhm,
it requires them to kind of say, hey, I just got slapped in the face and now, I'm awake, I'm alive, I can move forward. I think
mhm,
for me, I was brought up in a way that, as my brother and I tend to talk about all the time, is that, you know, our resiliency and our perseverance that our parents instilled in us, it's kind of like a mentality of, don't quit. You already have all these cards stacked against you because one, you may be, an African American, you may be a business owner, you may be this, society is going to play all these different things, as a part of you, but you just don't quit. You find
mhm,
a way to tell yourself, you know, are you built for this? And if you answer that question at the end of that statement with a yes, are you built for this? Then at the end of the day, it's just like Dr. Martin Luther King says, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. You're going to go figure it out. You're going to go
mhm,
apply yourself. You're going to go put yourself into a situation where A, you hope to get a positive outcome. And if B, you don't get a positive outcome, you've put forth 110% effort to get you further along than where you are today so that you're not complacent and being in the same position that you were when you asked yourself that question, whenever it was. And so,
mhm,
to answer your question more directly, how do I get myself there? I am always motivationally charged not to fail. And it's just based on the fact of what I told you my parents instilled in my dad and I, or in my brother and I, is the fact that, are you built for this? A quick story would be the fact that, the regiment in my household when I grew up as a kid was, it was just like being in the military. So by the time I did go in the military, it wasn't like I was
mhm,
seeing anything new. My dad was like, you know, when you get up out of the bed, when you get up out of the bed, you're gonna make your bed. When you leave the house, you're gonna be dressed properly. You're gonna help your mom. You're gonna do the dishes. You're gonna cut the grass. I mean, so I had this discipline built into me
mhm,
already. I mean, kind of like
mhm.
this a relentless of not accepting no as an answer. And so when all
Yeah.
these different tragic things happen, even though they hurt, emotionally left me distraught, and the fact that things were just doom and gloom, eventually you got to get yourself out of that that mindset, and you got to figure out a way to kind of move forward, and
Mhm,
if you do that, you relate back to things that have happened to you in the past that have gotten you out of those situations, and you try and use those same principles and philosophies to be able to move forward. And I'm going to end this on this one single note because this is a very, very good story. So one of my business partners, who basically uh, moved back home with his parents because things had gone south with regards to him and his wife. And his dad
mhm,
told him, said, look, I want you to go down the hall and I want you to look in the closet. And I want you to pull this box off the top shelf. And I want you to bring that box back in here because his dad was in bed. He was ill. And he said, I want you to open up that box. He opened up the box and he pulled out this bag. And this bag was a 6 foot long cotton sack. Okay. 6 foot long cotton sack. And his dad,
mhm,
he said, son, you may be going through some bad times. You may have gone through a divorce. You may feel like, the world's coming down on you. But he says, I'm going to tell you one doggone thing. Every morning before I go to school, I had to fill that 6 foot cotton sack up before I could go to school. And then when I got home from school, I had to fill that 6 foot cotton sack up when I came home from school. And he said, son, your life ain't that bad. you need to check yourself back into life and understand that this is a reality and just get over it, kind of move forward. And at that moment in time, when he shared that story with me, I kind of gave it a short, condensed version. I said to myself, now that takes me back to my great grandfather, my grandfather, them telling me all about picking cotton and all these different variations of things that they had to
Mhm.
deal with and endure. And it's an awakening. It's an awakening in life to understand that people have come so far along and they've put you in these positions not to fail, but they put you in these positions to try to grow and go further than what they've gone before in their life expectancy. And so why would you want to give up? And so regardless of the situation I'm in right now, I can't afford to give up because guess what? I'm 51 years old. I don't even feel like my life has
Yeah.
begun yet. I'm ready to begin my life at this point in time because I'm in a different career extremities. I'm in a different mindset, and I just think I still have so much more to offer to the world than what the world has already offered to me in my first 51 years. And so
Yeah.
if I can't get beyond this, then it'll be because the great man above. But I'm looking to move forward and come back as Greg 2.0 in a way that people have never ever seen before. And that's where I am, and that's the
Yeah.
energy that I'm bringing forth.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that you said. And whenever I'm looking down, I'm writing. Okay.
No
So
worries.
I write, that's just me. So there are a few things though that you said that I
Mhm.
really want to conceptualize and kind of condense and break down.
Sure.
So we've got it to where one, you found the thing that will reel you back in
Mhm.
and what works for you. And I like that the question that you had asked, am I built for this?
Mhm.
Are you built for this? And the thing is that we can always answer in the affirmative because the thing is, if you are here,
Mhm.
if this is happening in
Mhm.
real time, guess what? It's
Mhm.
happening because you are built for it.
That's right.
So the fact is that now I can say, okay, yes, I'm built for this. This is something that God saw fit that I could handle.
Mhm.
So that is what it is. And understanding and going back to, your upbringing
Mhm.
and the really the thing that was really put into you, right?
Mhm.
Don't
Mhm.
quit. Don't quit.
Mhm.
Um, and fueling that. But then also the thing that really works for you is understanding that not only, yes, I'm in this situation. Yes, I may not like it, but there are other people who are and who have been in worse situations than me. And
That's
not
right.
only that, is that there are people who have worked their butts off
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm.
And I cannot discount that by
Mhm.
saying, you know what, it's too hard, I bow out.
Mhm.
What does that say to them? Of just, I wanted to be where you worked hard for me, and now I'm working hard too. I'm going to do everything that I
Mhm.
can to the best of my ability because I know that's what you did this for,
That's right.
right? And so the fact that those things are the things that reel you in. And everything that you said was so powerful,
Mhm.
right? Because I've thought about, other people that have it worse and everything. And you're like trying to bring yourself back to reality.
Mhm.
And I can get myself through this, but the additional layer of that there have been people who have worked, whether it be your ancestors, whether it be,
Mhm.
it doesn't even matter. People that are in your family, even when it comes to just your parents,
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
what they've done and how they want to see you do more than what they did.
Right.
So it's like they did everything in their power that they could in the realm of what they knew, and
Mhm.
now they passed the torch.
Correct.
So in passing that, what are you going to do? Are you going to drop it, or are you going to run full speed?
That's
Well,
right.
what you going to do?
Mhm.
So I love that look in the mirror
Mhm.
approach of just, I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
And you do have it. You do have it. I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you,
And
sis.
so,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I don't think that there is a more perfect way to kind of end this, and just like, you are built for this. This is the thing that I want to ring in people's heads, when we're off this call, and because we all face things, right?
Mhm.
Even, I mean, shucks, it could literally be in the next hour we face something.
That's right.
And just to be able to say that simple sentence,
Hmm.
I am built for this,
Hmm.
is powerful.
Hmm.
Powerful. So I know that's going to be ringing in my head, and I want that to ring in your head, because you are coming up for your rebirth.
Yes.
I'm excited about that. I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because in between the last interview I had and before this one, my doctor called and said, "Hey, Greg, with the Omicron, we may want to talk tomorrow, which I have another consultation about pushing this out 2 weeks because, based on statistics,
Oh.
they're looking at this thing being peaked. And considering, for those that are on this live event, what will end up happening is that, I'll get hit with a high dose of chemo while I'm in the hospital. It will kill off not only my uh, cancer, but it will also kill off my good immunity cells as well. So I won't be able to fight off bacteria or infections or
Mm.
anything like that. And so, by them exercising more caution is giving me a little bit more, peace of mind that, we have to kind of look at the right tranche or right window of time to make sure that this is going to happen. So it looks like the 28th is probably not going to happen. It may be more around February the 7th or February the 8th. But
Okay.
we're going to be very mindful of what's going on with Omicron to ensure that I'm treated and I go through this procedure in the best safe and efficient way possible, because I want to come back, and I want to come back better than where I am today. That's
Hmm.
that's 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 the thing that
Yeah.
I'm praying for.
Yeah.
So certainly looking forward to being on the other side, but getting through that passage in the best manner possible.
Yeah. And that is the other thing that I wanted to highlight. And I'm glad you said this, but
Mhm.
it in my mind it popped up. Is that having that vision,
Mhm.
that purpose that you're holding on to? I'm
Mhm.
just like, wait a minute. Not only am I coming back, but I've got to come back better, because there are things that I need to do. There's
That's right.
things that I got. Wait a minute. I got some stuff.
Mhm.
And this has, yes, shifted your priorities, but it's fueled your fire for what you have left.
Yeah.
What other things you need to accomplish. And that is so important when we go through things, when we
Mhm.
go through stuff, when it
Mhm.
becomes hard.
Mhm.
Looking forward to the other side and knowing that there is another side.
Oh
We
yeah.
aren't getting stuck in where we are right now. It's not where we're like, oh my gosh, it's raining today and I can't see past the rain. It's
Mhm.
going to be a flood, and there is nothing else that I can see. No, we are looking and saying it's raining right now. There may very well be a flood, but I know at some point it's going to dry up. I know
Yeah.
at some
Yeah.
point the sun's coming out, and
Yeah.
I'm ready for that. And that's what I'm focusing on. So that's
Oh,
what
absolutely.
the strength that you have is beyond amazing. But I mean, it just is. It just is. And so I'm just pulling from you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad that one, we met. I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and I'm glad that I get to witness everything that's going to come out on the other side of this, because honey, you are going to come out. Okay, let me
Yeah.
just put this out here, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that this is recorded, and I'm glad that this is sticking up, because this is what I'm going to be sending you when you do. Hey, I called it. Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
so, what else I'm gonna be sending is, hey, I called it. So what you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
just for me, I mean, the last couple of points I'll make is, yeah, with all the things that was happening with the business as cancer was diagnosed, and then like I said, I had to put those things on the shelf. Those things will continue, but the other
Mhm.
flip side of this is the fact of what has come out of everything that I've had to learn because of the understanding and appreciation of not knowing. And so it's opened up a different capacity of growth for me. And to be honest with you, Christina, we've started up Cut to the Chase Foundation, which is really focused in on hope and awareness and support and being able to provide financial assistance and aid and be able to help those out there that are really needing, that type of support as dealing with, the onset of fighting cancer. And then, you're going to be really shocked at this because of everything that my dietary means had to change, no sugar and this and that and all the other things that they try to get you to avoid. My wife and I have been cooking up in the kitchen. We've got, our own, we haven't really officially announced this yet, but we've got our own brand of granola bars and cookies that'll be really focused in on, those that are dealing with cancer and they still have that sweet, taste that they want to have, to as a dessert. And so we've been really focusing in on that and honing in our craft on those type of things. And hopefully, once we get on the other side of this rebirth, we'll have the ability to start to get some of those things packaged and be able to sell those things out there on our website, as a part of things that we're helping to promote as far as cancer is concerned. And then outside of all the different things we've got going on with podcasting, I've been asked not only to be featured on some of these other shows, but I've been asked to kind of come forth with a podcast series that really focuses in on multiple myeloma and cancer. And so now all of that's getting ready to take off as well. So I just think when Greg 2.0 comes back, it's going to be a whole different ball game. I don't even know if I'm prepared.
Yes. And that's the thing. So y'all, like okay, there are some things that I'm gonna have to highlight right now in what you said. First of all, I'm gonna have to highlight the hopefully. We're gonna cut out that word. It's not hopefully. There it is. That is the only thing. You are coming out on the other side, and Greg 2.0 is going to be Greg 10 times what you are now. So that's what it is. But the fact is that this is what we got to grasp here. We are learning and we're growing through this thing, right? So not only that, is that in this growth period, we're learning how to relinquish control because that is something that we struggled with before. So I'm learning how to give up control. I'm learning how to focus more on God, how to mend that relationship and not only mend it, but also become closer. I'm realizing that void, how to fill that void. I'm realizing how to put myself first. And these things, how my priorities have shifted. Now it's where I'm letting go of the things that I would normally be like, no, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how this is going, how this is happening. And instead, I'm focusing more on myself and on my relationship with God and my relationship with my family. And in that, this is the beauty of it. Look at all the doors that are opening for you.
That's right.
Look at how my heart just got tickled when you said you and your wife are in the kitchen and they're cooking up. Like, first of all, you and your wife,
that's right,
are in there together, and you guys are now coming out, and from this is coming out of is a business together to not only bring you guys even closer than you were before. And then we've got other segmentations of your podcast. The things that can take shape when we let go and we relinquish control and we just allow God to be God. This is why we say, and this is why I always say, that when you do that, prepare for your socks to be blown off.
Right.
And that's the thing that sometimes we don't realize. We think that we're doing God a favor, right? We're controlling the things. We're doing the things like I'm working really hard to make sure that these dots are connecting, and I'm doing the work and I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm not just relying on you. I'm not just sitting up and just with my feet crossed and just like, hey, God's going to work it out. I'm doing work. And we think that we're doing him a favor. But in all actuality, he's like, I'm just waiting for you to get out the way. Like, you're keeping me small. Right. You're keeping me in this box when I just want to be so much bigger in your life. Can you move out the way? I got this.
Yeah. And it's the awakening.
Out the way. You said what? Yeah.
It's the awakening.
Yes.
It's the awakening.
And I'm like, this is why it's important for us, y'all. I mean, to be able to, now I'm seeing that through your lens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to see that in real life, in action, happening before me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing the things that are happening for you, and I'm seeing what you struggled with, and I'm seeing what you're learning and growing through. And now I can take that and I can apply it to my life. That is the
Absolutely.
power of sharing our stories. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Well, I
Thank
certainly appreciate you, sis. I mean, every time
you.
we talk, it's always uplifting. You know, it's you're part of the family. I mean, and I think you've always known. I think you've always known that. But
You didn't know that? No. I'm
sometimes
already
you gotta cast that out in the universe. You know, we got to make sure
yes,
everybody knows.
yes, yes. This is already, y'all ain't know that I already have, my room is over there somewhere. Just
Yeah,
look.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
certainly.
goodness.
So certainly, I've enjoyed this, and
Me
I'll
too.
make sure that we put a few links out there. Like if anybody wants to buy one of the T-shirts that
That's what I want. I
Christina
want
is wearing.
people,
Hmm.
yes, I want people to know, because one, I saw that you have, I know that you have a GoFundMe,
Hmm.
and we talked about that. And if you could just highlight really quickly
Hmm.
of what that's going to look like on the other side of your rebirth, once this, once this goes through, and you are coming out,
Hmm.
what does the other side look like as far as the medication that you may have to be on?
Sure.
What is the, like, the figures for that?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So basically, coming out on the other side, I'll still be on maintenance treatment, as I mentioned earlier in our dialogue. As a part of my treatment, currently it's running about $22,500 per week. But when I start, on the onset of, should I say, post the SCT or stem cell transplant, depending upon what medication they put me on, obviously, I'm hoping, knock on wood, between the VA hospital and my commercial insurance, is that the cost is not going to be what I'm going to share with your listeners. But that drug cost can average anywhere between $15,000 to $30,000 per month. And you're talking, you know, uh, 30 some odd pills, or maybe 42 pills that you'll be required to take on a monthly basis. And anybody in their right mind dealing with cancer and having to digest just the windfall of the financial implications, who can afford that? I
Yeah,
mean, it just becomes a kind of overwhelming situation where you're like, is your life worth it? You start second guessing yourself at that point in time. And so a
yeah,
lot of things that between Cut to the Chase Foundation, all the things that we're trying to do for hope and awareness, and making sure people understand how to get in contact with grants and other various things, is we're really trying to bring forth that information, because it's kind of like, if you don't ask, people don't tell. And it's very,
yeah.
very hard when you've got cancer, to kind of live by a rule: if you don't ask, no one tells you. And
Mhm.
that's just not worth living when you have to kind of govern yourself under something like that, because there are things out there. There are genuinely good people, whether it's $1, $50, $100, or whatever the case may be. Every aspect of it, is a means to help relieve the financial implications or burdens on those that are having to persevere through any type of cancer or any type of terminal illness, because
Yeah.
we all, at some point in our time, need a helping hand.
Yes, yes. So thank you. Thank you for being that helping hand, even through
Absolutely.
what you're going through. So, yeah, look, those figures blew me away. And it's crazy. It's crazy, because not only are you going through something of this magnitude, and what that can potentially do to people when they're going through it, mentally and physically,
Mhm.
but then having the burden of the financial implications that go along with it
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
just, no, for some people it can be too much.
Mhm.
That right there, 15,000 to $30,000 a month,
Mhm.
that can be a lot.
Oh,
That is
absolutely.
a lot.
That is
That
a
is,
lot.
yes.
That is a lot.
So you guys, I thank you guys for tuning in. But I want us to be able to raise it a bit higher. You know, you guys tuned in. We were able to get some good nuggets and gems from Gregory, but I also want us to support him in his journey. So look, we can buy a t-shirt. I am going to leave all the links, and I'll put it in the comments. I will put it in the description. I'll put it everywhere. But we can buy t-shirts to support his journey. We can also donate to the GoFundMe account. And I mean, just, and not only that, so we've got monetary things that we can do, but there's also things that we can just do as far as emotional support, right? We're family. This is why I always say, you know, this is my family. You're a part of my family. You guys that are tuning in and have tuned in, you guys are part of my family. If we could just bond together and really take this time to uplift him and be there. Yeah, and be that support, because just like you said, there is a time in everybody's life where you need that support. You need that that uplifting spirit. You need those words of comfort. You need that financial support. Everybody goes through it. Right. So I ask that in this moment we bind together and we support them. So I'm gonna have all the links. There's no excuse, guys. Let's do it. Let's do it. And remember, you are built for this. You are built for this.
You know what, sis? They're gonna want us back, sis, to as a follow-up to this discussion on once I get on the other side of my SET.
Yes. Once you get on the yes, we got it right. Yes. And that we will.
Oh.
That we will. We can make that. That's happening. We're gonna
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So it's been a pleasure, guys. Look out for those links because I'm gonna put them there. And let's support. All right.
Thanks, sis. Love you very much.
You're welcome. You are so welcome.
Take care.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.